stand for fantasy football franchise. Talking about that guy, Hoogie Tyler every week. Heavy analytics, competition real steep. Whoa, that's sweet. Oh, in this belief. Nick so sick, man, bringing ships the whole fleet. Goats, not sheep. Follow every tweet. Don't sleep, always finding sleepers on the street, boy. F3, winning every single league. Money back guaranteed, but it's free. Welcome to the franchise. Welcome to the franchise. Let's go.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the F3 podcast. My name is Sean. I'm here with my co-host, Andrew.
What's up?
Not a whole lot. And Joey.
What's up?
So today we're going to be kind of, over the next couple of weeks, we're just going to kind of go through each division and talk some of the fantasy dynasty relevant players and just kind of where their situations are, some of the depth at those positions, battles, stuff like that. So we're starting with the NFC East. No idea why. I don't really like any of these teams, but we're gonna start there. So you guys want to talk Washington first?
Sure.
Start with the bad division because you got to pull it off like a Band-Aid and get it over with.
Like,
Get it in
like
and stuff.
Philly's pretty good. Cowboys are competitive. I don't know. I just don't really like them. Like there's not a team there that I'm a huge fan of. So
No, I don't really care who comes out of the NFC East. Like, all right, whatever. You're gonna lose in the playoffs anyway.
yeah, don't really care. So Redskins. First thing, let's talk running backs. We got Adrian Peterson, Darius Geis, or as Joey likes to call him, Goose.
Goose.
Chris Thompson, and then we have Bryce Love. You like any of these guys?
As long as he lays a golden egg.
That would be Goose.
Dumb. That's so dumb.
Darius Geis. I like Darius Geis.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Geis. Geis was my RB2 in that class, and it wasn't even particularly close. I think he's a fantastic running back, and the ACL and the hamstring and all that, it's just really unfortunate. So I think I have Geis in every single league I'm in, and I think this is like the draft we're doing right now is the first league I didn't get Darius Geis in.
I'm a big fan of him. My only concern is has the scales tipped too far the other way? Like, so yeah, he was a value after the ACL tear because there was some uncertainty there, right? But now people are drafting him almost as if the ACL tear never happened.
Yes.
So like Adrian Peterson is not a normal person. People don't come back from ACL tears and like lead the league in rushing. So I think there's going to be some growing pains, and I think long term his value there. But do you guys think he's a value for this season, or do you think he's more of a dynasty stash?
I think he's more a dynasty. I don't think this season he's going to be as high as the ADP is saying. I think him and Peterson are going to split a lot of touches.
Yeah.
And then you also have to bring into consideration if they still decide to use Chris Thompson as a receiving back. Adrian Peterson, we know, doesn't really have the greatest of hands.
He's terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, I could easily see Peterson and Geis going 50-50. I mean, they want to ease both of their loads. Peterson's getting a little older. Geis coming off his ACL. I could see a split right there in carries 50-50, and then come off the field for Thompson.
All right, so I'm looking right now at where he went in the draft we're doing right now. Do you like him more or less than Damian Williams in Dynasty?
More.
Okay.
Yeah.
More or less than Marlon Mack in Dynasty?
Ooh, pretty close for me.
Okay. Because Marlon Mack went 5th round, Darius Geis went 2 picks later, and then Damian Williams went the pick after Geis.
I guess the truth is that I like Marlon Mack more than because I picked Marlon Mack in that.
Yeah, you did. And Joey
And
actually took Damian Williams.
Yeah. I did.
Weird example, but yeah, I don't know. I think I like Geis better than Marlon Mack. And then this was right after Derrick Henry too, and I think I like Geis long term better than Derrick Henry as well.
I do too.
See, I like Mac's situation a lot better. I like that offense. I like, I mean, his quarterback situation. Like he's just going to be in better game scripts, I think. But yeah, I would probably agree that Geis is a more talented running back. And so if if things turn around in Washington, or if he can get out of Washington, then
Yeah.
I think he could potentially have some more value. So
Yeah.
as of now, I like Mac.
Another issue there is, can Washington's offense stay on the field?
I
Like,
also
be able to move the ball.
my thing is I think Marlon Mack is replaceable talent, and with this incoming running back class, you kind of look around the league at teams that are in need of running backs, and there aren't really that many, and there's a lot of talented running backs coming in, and I think that Indianapolis is kind of one of those teams that could just replace Marlon Mack next year.
What if he puts up a stellar year this year?
I mean, does it matter? Because Tariq Cohen played pretty well for Chicago last year, and they went and spent their first pick on David Montgomery.
Yeah, but you always knew
different
Tariq
role.
Cohen wasn't going to be an every down back.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, they have Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard. They got rid of Jordan Howard and then basically got somebody that's going to play that role. So, I don't know. I don't think that there's anybody that's not replaceable at the running back position, but I think that Marlon Mack is probably on the lower tier of talented backs in the NFL. Like I don't think he's incredibly talented, and I think that could be somewhere they'd try and upgrade their team.
What round did he go, Marlon Mack?
5th, I believe.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no draft capital there, and that's kind of what I mean. Where
he's coming up on a contract year too, isn't he? Is this his 3rd year in the league, or?
I think this is his 3rd.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, because he was in the
next year's
contract year. What class? Yeah, I can just take a look at that real quick, but yeah, I think realistically, I don't even know how we got here. we're talking Darius Geis here, but
because our draft got in the way of it.
Yeah, our draft really just took it away. But so Peterson, how many years do you think we're gonna get out of him?
Oh, like -3. I can't believe he's still playing.
I know.
I can't either. So
and he had 1,000 yards last year. That's unbelievable.
So let's say he's gone next year.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're looking at Darius Geis, Chris Thompson, Bryce Love.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think they're a candidate to draft one of those ultra talented running backs next year as well, though?
I don't think so. They spent a 2nd-round pick on Geis last year. I don't think you're
3rd on Love?
Third on Bryce Love. I don't think you want to spend another top 3-round pick on a running back. I think that's bad business.
Unless you're the Patriots and you go 1-2 back-to-back years. 1-3. 1-3.
1-3, I think. Yeah, and Patriots are a weird team though. They do whatever they want. And yeah, Marlon Mack is under contract through 2020, by the way. But yeah, so I don't know. I think Chris Thompson's probably an odd man out. They had to have drafted Bryce Love for that, but Bryce Love isn't known to be the best receiving back, so I don't know what they drafted Bryce Love for at all.
It's not even that he's known to be the best. Isn't he known to be bad? Correct me if I'm wrong, but he came out of Stanford, and the running back before him was Christian McCaffrey, who they force fed the ball. So that offense was built to find passing game touches for the running back, and they just didn't give him the ball. So I think he had to be abjectly bad at it for them to take that out of their offense. It wasn't just that he wasn't as strong at it.
Well, last year he was also injured for most of the season. He played through injury almost all of last season.
But the season before,
he's also perennially hurt. He was hurt 2 years ago too. It was sad watching him limp out onto the field. Even though he was just crushing it,
10 yards per carry.
Sad. Yeah, it was just sad watching though. Where it's oh man, just get him out of the game already.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, under receivers, this is kind of an interesting group because you got Josh Jackson, who I believe they declined his 5th-year option, so he's on the way out the door.
Mm-hmm.
You have Trey Quinn, who is, in my opinion, nothing special. People really like him, but I think they like him because of opportunity, not talent.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a pair of rookies, Terry McLaurin, who had some decent draft capital, played with Dwayne Haskins, all that. And then you have Kelvin Harman, who I thought was super talented, but somehow fell to the 6th round of the draft.
I love McLaurin. Oh, shoot. I shouldn't have said that out loud. We're in the middle of a draft right now. I don't think
Nice.
McLaurin's anything special. But no, I think
McLaurin's a hell of a route runner. He ran a 4.3. He's a great player. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think ultimately he's going to be a starter this year. I think to begin the year, Dotson is going to start and Trey Quinn in the slot. And I don't think Trey Quinn is a special player, or a special athlete, but I think he's really good at what he does, which I think is that sort of shifty slot role, which has value in the league, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily a big fan of, but I'm a believer that Hunter Renfrow is going to have like a decent chance at being successful.
Mhm.
I love Hunter Renfrow.
Right, but I think Hunter is better than Trey Quinn, but I also think that Trey Quinn has a couple years of experience in the league and it's an inexperienced receiver room, right? So they're going to start with Trey Quinn and Dotson for their experience. I think McLaurin's going to be out there, but by the end of the year, I think it's going to be Harman, and I don't think it's going to be close.
Right,
Yeah.
so Trey Quinn plays in the slot, though. Who's playing on the outside opposite Dotson?
McLaurin.
Right. So we're saying he's going to be a starter out of the gate.
I don't think he'll be a starter out of the gate.
Who's going to start above him?
I think it's going to be Harman. I know the draft capital's there, but I read something today that the reason they fell in love with McLaurin so much was because of his special teams ability.
I saw that, but nobody's drafting a special teams player in the 3rd round.
I
So
agree.
let's back up. We can fact check this, but I have McLaurin in the 3rd and Harman in the 6th.
Correct.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you said McLaurin in the 3rd. Sorry, I thought you said McLaurin in the 6th.
No.
Oh, okay. According to our lads, they've got Dotson, McLaurin, and Quinn as penciled in as starters now,
Yeah.
with Harman as the backup to Quinn in the slot.
Which would be weird, but
yeah, I'm not sure about that much. But
yeah,
that's essentially outside of the Harman in the slot. That's how I see it playing out.
realistically, though, I do like Kelvin Harman a lot. I had him pre-draft. He was one of my top 12 rookies for Dynasty football, and so he landed in a spot where there's a ton of opportunity, a really weak receiving room. We very well could just see McLaurin and Harman on the outside next year.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like Harman at his price a good deal.
Yeah.
And let's talk tight ends real quick. You got Jordan Reed, Vernon Davis. Jordan Reed's going to go down with injury. Probably is injured already.
Mm-hmm.
Vernon Davis, super old. Nobody behind him. You just have Jeremy Sprinkle, who is famous for getting caught shoplifting at a Belk convenience store during the Belk Bowl weekend. So
He was supposed to play in.
he was supposed to play in, and I think he couldn't play in it because he couldn't play in the Belk Bowl because he was shoplifting from a Belk.
A Belk store.
Yeah.
That is.
Well, he knew that everyone would be distracted by the Belk Bowl, so he didn't expect to get caught at the Belk store.
This was before the Belk Bowl. So
The build-up,
I don't know.
the celebrations.
I'm not really interested in any of these guys, to be honest. Reed is going to be out of the league at some point soon. He just can't stay healthy. Vernon Davis is going to retire, and they're going to have to find a new answer because it's not going to be Jeremy Sprinkle.
Yeah,
even though I do think his tape was good.
They'll be drafting the tight end this year. This year coming up.
I still think Reed has some value in particularly in redraft, but potentially in Dynasty, because some guys do figure out how to take care of their bodies and how to not get injured. It is a thing that happens. Maybe he gets on the TB12 plan and he gets rejuvenated.
It's been 8 straight years of being injured.
He's only been in the league for 6 years.
It's been 6 straight years of him being in the league and getting injured.
But if he's healthy, you do acknowledge the talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so tight end. I think tight end is a relatively physically demanding position, and guys get hurt. It's a thing that happens. So I think as a guy to start your season in redraft, or as a guy to, if you're waiting on one of the rookie tight ends like Hawk to get up to speed, I think there's value there.
Okay. We're gonna take a short break, and then you can talk again after that. are back to talk Giants and Cowboys, but I so rudely cut off Andrew. I'd love to hear what he had to say before the break.
Good work, Sean.
That was worth it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right, so Cowboys again. Let's start with the running backs. You obviously have Zeke. Unless Zeke goes down, there's nothing to talk about there.
Oh, yes,
Or if this holdout actually happens, but that seems pretty unlikely at the moment. So I guess, like, let's say there is a holdout or he does go down with injury. You got Tony Pollard, you got Alfred Morris, and you got Mike Weber. Who do you want?
I didn't even know who Pollard was coming into the draft, and I heard good things about Weber, so I was leaning Weber. But then Pollard had the draft capital. Was that draft capital special teams related, or is he a better player?
It probably was. Realistically, he's super athletic. They used him in kind of like a Swiss Army knife role where he basically played receiver and running back for them. He was kind of like
he had more receiving yards than he had rushing yards.
I think you're right. Because he was playing with, might have been, I'm trying to remember who it was. I think he was playing with Benny Snell.
Darrell Henderson.
Darrell Henderson, that's who it was, yeah.
Yeah,
so Henderson was taking most of the carries, but they wanted to still get the ball in his hands, so they're throwing to him.
Yeah, last season he had 552 rush yards and 458 receiving yards.
So, yeah, pretty balanced. So they might find a way to work him into the offense, just because, like, Tavon Austin did have a role, even if it wasn't like a fantasy relevant one. And obviously, like, Tavon Austin's still there, and they kind of blocked him off because they've got Randall Cobb playing that role instead now.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like they're trying to build an offense that has that role, because Cobb's another player that can do a lot of rushing, the like bubble screen, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he was the replacement to Tavon Austin, and then you basically got Pollard as the heir to him. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think Alfred Morris signing probably, I like him better than Weber.
But
he knows the system.
But does he though? Didn't they fire their OC? Isn't it a new system?
I don't know that it matters, because I don't think they were gonna bring him back if they didn't, like. I guess for me, you're looking for the straight up handcuff. You're not looking for like the long-term dynasty stash here, because Zeke is probably going to be there long-term.
Oh, yeah.
So like Weber being younger and the shiny new toy doesn't mean much to me. I think if they had to start one right now, like if Zeke held out, I think they're probably starting Alfred Morris.
But it was Linehan, the OC, when Morris was there, right? It's Shula now?
It definitely was Linehan. I don't know who it is now, but you could be right on that.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm looking at Giants. That was the wrong team. I thought we were doing Giants next. I've got Kellen Moore. That's right. The quarterback's coach. Kellen Moore is the new OC.
Yeah,
so
that's right. I forgot about that. He was a quarterback for the Lions for a little bit.
But Garrett's an offensive guy, right? So they're probably running his offense, and it was just Linehan running it. So maybe he does know. Maybe he does know the terminology and stuff. So yeah, it could be a good transition.
Yeah, I think Weber's like, they only spent a 7th round pick on him too. Like, I don't think he has any sort of hold on a backup job. I think he probably did before they brought back Alfred Morris, but now it's kind of, I think I'd lean Morris.
Yeah, I think if Zeke ever did go down for long term, it would be Morris first 2 downs, and then Pollard would come in for 3rd down.
Yeah, that's entirely, or Tavon Austin maybe or something.
Now, I think we're still getting ahead of ourselves a little bit in terms of overvaluing Alfred Morris, because he was in San Francisco last year, wasn't he?
Right.
Was he efficient there? Because that was an efficient.
Terrible.
No.
Yeah, and that was a much more efficient offense that they were running there. So there's a really good chance that even if he is the guy for a game or two, that they realize that he doesn't have it, and they pivot, right? So.
I mean, except that the Cowboys have the best offensive line in the NFL, and anybody can run behind them.
But anybody could run in Mike Shanahan. Sorry, not Mike Shanahan's. Kyle Shanahan's offense, but he couldn't. You know what I mean? Like
isn't he more of a power runner?
Yeah.
As opposed to zone.
Yeah, and I think Shanahan, you're looking at a lot of zone.
Yeah.
And also, the strange thing with Shanahan is they ran almost no 3 wide receiver sets, which was just really bizarre. Like it was the lowest in the league, I think. So they were putting a lot of tight ends out there on the field that, gave him a bit more push, but it was definitely a zone scheme that he wasn't a good fit for. Do we want to talk wide receivers? Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Randall Cobb, Tavon Austin. You like any of them?
I really like Cooper personally. I think Cooper's going to have a great year.
Yeah, I think Cobb and Gallup might be bargains right now.
Yeah, especially Cobb. Cobb's going like towards the end of drafts.
Yeah, and I know he's not the same player he used to be, but it's something where like you're getting a wide receiver, and he's filling into the Cole Beasley role, which has been traditionally pretty productive. Like I kind of like him in Dallas. I don't know. What do you think, Andrew?
I'm a big Cooper fan. He's a guy that I invested in early in his career, and I've been kind of counting on him, and been a little bit let down by him a couple of years, but I still have faith that he's a talented player. Gallup, I like. I don't think he's in the best situation because I don't know that it's a high enough passing volume offense to support two top end wide receivers. And for that same reason, I'm not really in love with Cobb. But again, he could be a value because, like you guys said, if he gets that slot role locked down, I just feel like to maximize effectiveness, they have to use Cooper in the slot because his splits out wide versus in the slot are pretty dramatic.
So looking at Cole Beasley last year, like it's 65 receptions, 672 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Like that's not fantastic by any means, but like I don't know, that's productive at least. Like if that touchdown number were like 6 or 7, like yeah, you could put him in as a second flex, I guess. Some weeks, good depth piece fill in. And I think Cobb's better than Beasley. Maybe that's not true anymore, but I think so.
I mean, what's saying it's not true though? I mean, he's been kind of banged up for the past couple of years. And if he can just come out healthy, like have his preseason just come out completely clean bill of health, he could come out and have a good season. Not like mind-blowing season because of the offense that are in, but he's good in the red zone. Dak likes to scramble a lot, and Cobb's really good at going with that. Like he's a guy who can break his route and follow the QB and make something happen. He did that with Rodgers a lot.
So, at the price, who do you prefer, Cooper, Gallup, or Cobb at their current price?
I still have to go Cooper.
I think I do too, but
after that, I think I have to go Cobb.
Yeah, I'm curious what Michael Gallup's ADP is right now. I'll pull it up real quick, but I don't know. I think Cobb's basically free. You can get him for nothing.
Right.
Cooper, you're probably spending your second round startup pick on. Cobb's ADP is 220. So again, basically
much almost undrafted.
Basically nothing. Michael Gallup is sitting at 104. So I guess that isn't as cheap as what I thought it was. You're looking at like 8th round, somewhere around there, and so probably sticking him in your flex. But
he's currently available in the 20th round of our draft. You can get him.
Well, we can get him, but it looks like the general public is a lot higher on him than we are. It looks like. But so then tight ends, we got Jason Witten, who is just there to screw up the fantasy situation because he basically said he only wanted to play like 30 snaps a game or something like that. Which is
really?
I
did not even hear that.
I told my boss that I only wanted to work 20 hours a week, but wasn't well received.
Did you lash out with vulgarities at you?
So it said about 25 snaps per game.
What's the point of coming back?
Because this is his way of like getting out of announcing that he was
way
just
of
so
trying
bad.
to make people forget about it.
Yeah, he's just like, well, maybe if I like if I just quit announcing, people are gonna look at it as like, oh, I really sucked at that. I can't do this. I quit. But if he goes back to football, then he just doesn't come back to announcing.
I could give up on the game. My love for the game kept me coming back.
but I don't love it enough to play 30 snaps, only 25.
And I definitely don't love it enough to announce it because I suck at it.
So, yeah, after that, you're looking at Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz, Rico Gathers. I think Rico Gathers, I don't know how long he's suspended for, but I believe he's out for at least a little out here.
I think the only other reliable option is Jarwin.
Strangely, Rico Gathers only 1 game suspension. Substance abuse, no idea. Rico Gathers definitely has the most upside of any of them. He's super athletic, but I mean, it's been 3 years and he hasn't gotten on the field, so I don't know what's going on. I can't watch him in practice. I don't know whether he just doesn't get it or whether he can't block, which would be my best guess. But yeah, he might be off the roster entirely. So after that, who do you like?
So on to the New York Giants.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think I'm touching a Cowboys tight end.
I don't know. What do you think Blake Jarwin's ADP is right now?
Nothing.
311. So,
Undrafted.
I mean, if you're getting a starting tight end for free, I mean, it's worth rostering.
Yeah.
You know, like would you rather be drafting like, let's see, Pollard, hoping that Zeke goes down and he manages to stay on the roster and get a 3rd down role, or would you rather have the starting tight end for the Dallas Cowboys?
If last year has anything to say about it, probably Pollard. Jeff Swaim and Drummer were both junk at tight end for the Cowboys last year. So
yeah, but I mean, the backup running back for the Cowboys was nothing. So
I'd rather draft the 4th tight end for the Patriots because he might break out.
because Gronkowski's gone.
All right, we're on to the Giants. Starting with running back, you got Saquon Barkley, obviously. The only question is who the handcuff is there. It's not really much of a question. You got Wayne Gallman and then a bunch of other scrubs. Paul Perkins.
He's a chump.
Wasn't Elijah Penny?
Paul Perkins was my first ever voodoo dolls.
Wasn't Elijah Penny relatively talked about coming into the draft last year? Wasn't he not like a top guy, but like a mid to late round potential?
I never liked his tape. I think it was 2 years ago, to be honest, because you're thinking of Rashad Penny, I think, but no.
Elijah Penny came out. He was with the Cardinals, wasn't he?
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah, he was 2 years ago.
Okay.
So yeah, and I didn't ever really like him. I didn't think he was very good.
Okay.
So yeah, then you just taking Gallman?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Then after that, we got wide receivers. There's kind of a mess there. So you got Golden Tate, who's suspended.
4 games.
You have 4 games. Sterling Shepard, who has something broken in his hand.
Broken thumb.
Thumb. Okay. And it sounds like he may not miss any time.
Surgery is not required, so
yeah, he should be okay, but still obviously not great. Then after that, you have Cody Latimer, Darius Slayton, and Russell Shepard.
Honestly, if I was a professional wide receiver and I had to play with Eli Manning, I'd probably try to get on IR as well.
That's what happened with Coleman, right?
Yeah, that's fake.
I'm just going to cut as hard as I could. Just tear that ACL.
He's not even faking it. He's actually injuring himself.
They thought he was really working on his cuts, but he just wanted to keep doing it until he tore his ACL.
I don't know. I still think between all the targets that Ingram and Barkley are going to get, there's not a whole lot left over for wide receiver production. So for this year, not interested in any of these guys. I
like Darius Slayton for Dynasty.
Yeah, long term maybe.
He's super fast, super athletic. He's got really good after the catch, animal at the catch point. He was one where I kind of had him graded in like the mid to late rounds. I think he ended up going undrafted, but I really liked his tape. He just didn't have the huge production that people like to see. And I think that, like, with Tate out, if he kind of sneaks into the starting lineup for a couple of weeks, produces well, like, that bodes well for his future, and he is basically free as well.
So
What do you? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you think about? I hate you. I was going to say, what do you think about Cody Latimer? He was himself. He had pretty high draft capital when he was drafted. Was he a second or third round pick, I believe, with Denver? He's got great special teams ability, and if you can finally get a niche in a starting receiving corps, maybe he can finally do something. Maybe he can be worth it something in Dynasty.
Yeah, and I think he projects to play the slot role.
Right.
But he's 26 already, so he's got maybe 4 years left, and like, say he spends 2 of those years with Eli Manning, and then you got maybe 2 years left. So
Daniel
I don't
Jones, maybe if he stays.
Yeah, just give me the younger guy in this case. But then tight end, you got Evan Ingram, and that's all that matters because Rhett Ellison is nothing.
Right. He only becomes something if Ingram goes down, which is a possibility. He hasn't been the
healthiest.
staple of health.
Yeah. I guess, like, to me, if Evan Ingram goes down, there aren't, like Andrew was saying, there aren't enough targets to make anybody worthwhile here, and then none of these guys are talented enough to actually have long-term value. They're just gonna need a different backup tight end. So
you can watch Barkley go for 15 and 1,000, 1,500 and 1,000.
God, I hope so.
We're
gonna take a short. Oh no!
I'm doing it this time. What's the single season record for yardage for scrimmage? 27? 2,700?
Don't know.
All right, we'll come back after the break.
All right, we're back to talk Philly running backs. What a mess.
Real quick.
2,509 yards from scrimmage.
Chris Johnson.
Was it Chris Johnson?
So that's what I knew he was up there, but I didn't think he had the record. But if Barkley puts up those numbers you said, like, he's basically setting the record.
I can see it though. I guess if there's one person that's gonna do it, it's gonna be him.
Yeah.
Anyway, Philly running backs. So you got Jordan Howard over from Chicago. You got Miles Sanders, they just drafted. You got Corey Clement, who was the undrafted standout 2 years ago. You got Josh Adams, who was the lead back last year. You have Sproles, who is 200 years old, pass catching specialist. You have Wendell Smallwood, who was a thing for a minute somehow. You got Donnell Pumphrey, who was I think he owns the record for most rushing yards in college and also had draft capital, but
Does he really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but he.
Didn't he hold off Rashad Penny? Didn't they go to the same school?
Yep. Yeah, he was the lead back before Rashad Penny.
Yeah.
All-time leader in rushing yards in NCAA Division I history. And they actually spent a 4th-round pick on him, but he is 5'8", 185 pounds, and didn't even make the roster last year.
Nice.
Then we're not done yet. We still got Boston Scott, who people thought was going to be a thing in New Orleans and was not. And then I think that's all of them. That's what we got. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 running backs that have had some level of fantasy hype and or relevance in the last 3 years. Who do you want? Who do you want?
I want Miles Sanders. It's not close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everyone knows my love for Miles Sanders. He was a guy that I was on very early in the draft process last year.
Never heard anything about it.
Oh my God. He does everything well. Like, he can catch the ball well. He's elusive. He can run with power. He has good vision, good patience. Like, he's not like the next level talent like Barkley was. Obviously, he was sitting behind Barkley for some time there, but he doesn't have any real weaknesses outside of ball security, and that's really the only knock that I have on him. Outside of that, he can do everything, and he is, in my opinion, the second best running back in this class.
Yeah, I can totally get down with that. I do think that there's a level of interest in Jordan Howard just because he will get carries this year, and he is only in Philly for 1 year. So from a dynasty perspective, I'm still looking at Jordan Howard. But for this year and in general, I'm going Miles Sanders way before Howard.
Yeah, so Howard's basically free, but go ahead, Andrew.
There's a lot of talk about Howard dominating the first team touches in camp, and so, you try not to take too much, put too much weight in terms of what they're doing, especially early in camp. You wait till later, see who gets the touches in game 3, right? But I don't know. I think they definitely want to see what they got in him, and if he doesn't underperform, then there could be value there. But yeah, I think it's a no-brainer that Miles Sanders is going to be the guy to own there, and outside of that, we're just talking about value picks.
Yeah.
Yeah. My issue is I don't really like the landing spot. They always kind of run a committee, but I mean, they've also never had a Miles Sanders there where it's like not since McCoy anyway, where it's a talented running back that had good draft capital,
But McCoy had Reed back then too, so they always run one back.
Yeah. So I mean, like we haven't seen them run with a single back yet, but we also don't know what they would do with a high draft capital running back,
Mm-hmm.
I also think that in today's NFL, like there's not that many teams that do just run one back, so you have to find guys that are in good situations in committees. And I think even if he's in a committee, he's in a good situation because it's going to be an offense that's going to score a reasonable amount of points. They're going to be in a reasonably good game situations to run the ball. He's not going to get down 3 touchdowns in the second quarter, and even if he does, I think he's got the pass catching chops to still be relevant.
Yeah, definitely. And you can scheme around Sanders a lot better because Jordan Howard's on the field. He's not catching anything. They're running with him.
Well, that's where Sproles comes in, where they just re-signed him.
Right, but if you put Miles Sanders in there for one of the first 2 downs, you don't know it's going to be a run. You can still run a screen play or something of that sort.
You're talking about it from a play calling versatility.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I gotcha. So, question for you then: guys that are getting drafted around him. We got Tariq Cohen. Who do you prefer?
Sanders.
Okay. Mark Ingram.
Sanders.
Lamar Miller.
Sanders.
James White.
Sanders.
Rashad Penny.
Sanders. Well, we're talking dynasty, right?
Yeah, we're talking dynasty.
He's younger than most of those guys, and so
yeah. So interestingly enough, he went around after all of those players. Then he went 3 rounds after your Marlon Mack, Damian Williams picks. So I think that's pretty good value there.
Yeah.
So, because I don't know what people are expecting Mark Ingram to do this year that's going to justify being in that same category, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to justify long-term the value of Miles Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the mess of the running back situation. Then you have the mess of a wide receiver situation, which is Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Nelson Aguilar, Braxton Miller, and bear with me here. Arcega-Whiteside, but apparently it's pronounced Arcega-Whiteside.
With a list.
I've been telling you this for 2 months.
I know, and I thought you were lying to me, but you're absolutely right. So
I just figured you were just trying to mess with me a little bit.
Well, and when you're watching film on him, all the announcers say Arcega-Whiteside, so I just kind of went with that. But no, he says that it's pronounced Arcega.
Well, look at the announcers. What do you got? Jason Witten and Troy Aikman?
No, I watched 15 games of him, and everybody pronounced it the same way. So I'm going to continue saying Arcega-Whiteside. I don't care what his real name is. I'm just pulling a Joey here. So
listen,
JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
To be fair, I don't think he really even acknowledged it in college. And it was just kind of this year in training camp when he was interviewed by guys. And it came up, I think, when somebody's asking him, what do you think of these nicknames for you? And somebody's like, what do you think of the nickname Sega? And he was like, well, it doesn't really make any sense because there's no Sega in my name. It's pronounced Thega. So I think he's pretty chill about it. He doesn't really care that much. So you can keep calling him Sega.
He literally said, call me whatever you want.
Yeah. So we'll just over it.
It was like a Tyrod where he did, like, just nobody knew.
Yeah.
No one had any idea.
What about Gerard and Jared?
No, he definitely
Yeah,
prefers Jared.
I know, but it's stupid. Spell it right.
It is stupid.
And Yoey the
Alright,
Tooth.
So current starters projected, you got Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Nelson Aguilar. Deshaun Jackson is getting up there in age. He's not quite. He's still good. He has a role in the offense. He's not target heavy. Like, he doesn't demand volume. Alshon Jeffrey, I believe the team has an out on his contract after this year. Nelson Aguilar, they're trying to move on from. That wide receiver group, all three of those guys could just be gone in the next year or two.
Give me Ortega-Whiteside.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I think that he's got a role there in the red zone regardless, because Deshaun Jackson doesn't offer a ton in the red zone. You need him in space. So I think when you start getting down to those more crammed areas, like, you're gonna definitely see some value from Ortega-Whiteside.
Plus, he's one of the best contested ball catchers, especially out of this draft class, definitely.
Yeah, no, he was insane. His rate was like double most other receivers. So he's got that basketball box out move just down to a T, where it's like, you're watching those games and you're sitting there, you're like, okay, they're on the 2-yard line. I know what play's coming. They know what play's coming. They have two guys out there trying to cover him, and he still can just jump up and get it above them. So. And
he's got good size. He's 6'3", 225?
Yeah, he's something like that. Big-bodied guy, pretty good route runner, great hands, great in contested catch situations, strong at the catch point. Yeah, he's super talented, and I think that he's probably going to have a role in the red zone this year, and then it's going to be just like open for him to take over a spot as a starter next year.
I agree.
As long as we're butchering his last name, I think we should get Joey to take crack with his first name.
No. I don't even know.
He goes by JJ because nobody can pronounce his.
Yeah, hold on. Let me look it up. What is it?
I'm not going to give it to you. I want to hear you try it. So anyway, I think that Whiteside's going to get some looks this year because, like, as you mentioned, Deshaun Jackson's getting up in age, and he's a situational deep threat. He's not going to play a full complement of snaps. He's going to get off the field a bit, right? So I think
I'm just staring at Joey stroking his beard.
I found it. I found it. No, it's Jose Joaquin.
Oh, actually, that's pretty good, I think.
I think it's Joaquin.
That's what I just said.
That's what he said.
Joaquin.
Joaquin.
That's better than we thought, though. So,
way better.
That's not bad.
So many things I want to say, but I know I can't.
So, Braxton Miller is an interesting name because he's going to go undrafted in pretty much every dynasty league. So, if you're in a deeper one with, like, I don't know, 35, 40-man benches, whatever, he's might be worth taking a look at. 'Cause I don't see Ortega-Whiteside playing in the slot a lot. Like, I don't think that's where he excels. And I know they want to move on from Nelson Aguilar. So if that happens, Braxton Miller he's not super young anymore, but he was always going to take a little longer to develop because he was coming from basically playing 1 year of wide receiver at Ohio State. So he might just be a weird, interesting stash that, you know, maybe you get him and you trade him for a fourth and you just get a free 4th round pick. I don't know.
Why don't you think Whiteside can play the big slot like Marquez Colston?
I think he could, but I don't think that's where he excels because basically that takes away a lot of his where he excels physically, where he can beat the press pretty well and work outside the numbers and just kind of like bully smaller cornerbacks. And I think that teams are getting better at covering those bigger slots because so many players like Marcus Colston have come out. I mean, it's possible they try and use him in that way, but I think that putting him one-on-one on the outside is better for him utilizing his size and his jump ball ability.
Isn't there some like evidence suggesting that you should more and more get your best receivers into the slot because they get two-way releases because there's more opportunity for yards after catch than on like a back shoulder fade and things like that? Like, isn't there evidence for that?
I don't think he's
Yeah.
a big gap guy, though, is he?
He's not. I mean, he can, but like, yes, you want to put your best receiver in the slot so you get easier releases and stuff, but it's a little different with some types of players where, like, Antonio Brown's your best receiver, but Antonio Brown's a totally different player than Arcega-Whiteside. You know, like when you are a little more limited in your lateral agility, you tend to want to run a little more outside the numbers, but there obviously are exceptions to that. It just depends on how your offense runs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like Arcega-Whiteside. Deshaun Jackson, I think, is super cheap, especially in redraft. And I actually really like him in redrafts. Aguilar, I want nothing to do with, and Alshon Jeffrey, I usually won't take at the price that he goes at.
Right. Plus, there's no guarantee he'll stay healthy all year.
Yeah. So then, last thing to talk about real quick before we call it a day is Ertz and Goddard. What are you doing with that?
I'm buying Ertz all day.
All right.
Yeah,
How about Goddard?
I love Ertz, but he goes too early for me. I'm a guy who likes to wait on tight ends, and I can't take a tight end in top three rounds. I'd rather wait and get Goddard.
Fair enough.
Joey, do you remember that mock draft we did?
Yeah,
Who'd you take in the 3rd round?
Zach Ertz.
Okay.
I know, but I don't like doing it. I don't like doing it.
Just clarifying.
Just so everybody's aware, Zach Ertz, there's a potential out from his contract after this year. Basically, you would be looking at it's not much of an out though. You're looking at an out after next year is really what it is, where his cap hit's going to be about $12 million, and they save $5 million by cutting him. So that's kind of what you're looking at. But
Not worried about it. I don't think they cut him unless he has a terrible season.
I mean, I'm looking at that's a big cap hit for a tight end though. 13 million next year, 12 million the year after that. All right, this has been the F3 podcast. You can find us at idpguys.org or at dynastyfootballdigest.com. We're looking to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so you can find that at the Writer Digest Network, and Writer is spelled REITER. Joey is at Joey the Tooth IDP, and Andrew, what's your Twitter handle?
You know it.
I don't know it.
I think
You
you
know
might.
it.
It's not Panda Man. It's the
All
other
right,
one.
my Twitter handle is at Lanny1925. Visit the websites for $1 a month subscriptions. You get tools, rankings, combined offensive, defensive ADP, and you also get free entry into our Slack chat, which basically is where you can come and ask any fantasy football related stuff that you want, and one of our writers or podcasters or anyone affiliated with the site will answer your questions. So it's been a good show.
It's at Dubspan02.
Thank you.